This is a chapter from Flash Wisdom, a curated collection of mind-blowing, perspective-changing quotes, edited by me, Russ Kick. This is the chapter called Living, and it's the longest chapter, so I'll be reading it in two parts. This is part one, and we start with Dostoevsky, who wrote this in a letter just hours after he was nearly executed by a firing squad. When I look back on my past and think how much time I wasted on nothing, how much time has been lost in futilities, errors, laziness, incapacity to live, how little I appreciated it, how many times I sinned against my heart and soul, then my heart bleeds. Life is a gift. Life is happiness. Every minute can be an eternity of happiness. From Henry David Thoreau. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. From Judge Learned Hand. Life is made up of a series of judgments on insufficient data, and if we waited to run down all our doubts, it would flow past us. From Minion McLaughlin. Every day of our lives we are on the verge of making those changes that would make all the difference. From Philip K. Dick. Everything in life is just for a while. From Kurt Vonnegut. We are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful what we pretend to be. From Nietzsche. If we have our own why of life, we shall get along with almost any how. From Andre Gide. The most decisive actions of our life, I mean those that are most likely to decide the whole course of our future, are, more often than not, unconsidered. From Belva Plain. All is pattern, all life, but we can't always see the pattern when we're part of it. From Buckminster Fuller. Dare to be naive. From Yukio Mishima. I want to make a poem of my life. Erica Zhang. Many people today believe that cynicism requires courage. Actually, cynicism is the height of cowardice. It is innocence and open-heartedness that require the true courage, however often we are hurt as a result of it. From Rumi. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. From Henry Miller. The aim of life is to live, and to live means to be aware, joyously, drunkenly, serenely, divinely aware. From Lord Byron. The great art of life is sensation, to feel that we exist, even in pain. From Sylvia Plath. Remember, remember, this is now, and now, and now. Live it, feel it, cling to it. I want to become acutely aware of all I've taken for granted. From Betty Smith. To look at everything always as though you were seeing it either for the first or last time. Thus is your time on earth filled with glory. From Antonio Machado. Wanderer, there is no path. The path is made by walking. From Eleanor Roosevelt. Do one thing every day that scares you. From Leonard Cohen. If you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day. From Osho. All of our miseries are nothing but attachment. Rumi. I should be suspicious of what I want. From Lao Tzu. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. Attributed to George Eliot. It is never too late to be what you might have been. From Margaret Miller. Life is something that happens to you while you're making other plans. From Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Your task is not to foresee the future, but to enable it. From Gandhi. My life is my message. From Robert Frost. The best way out is always through. From Confucius. To know what is right and not do it is the worst cowardice. From Clive Barker. Study nothing except in the knowledge that you already knew it. Worship nothing except in adoration of your true self, and fear nothing except in the certainty that you are your enemy's begetter and its only hope of healing. From Basho, do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the men of old. Seek what they sought. From Anatole France, it is human nature to think wisely and act in an absurd fashion. From Terence McKenna, the problem is not to find the answer, it's to face the answer. From Proust, all our final decisions are made in a state of mind that is not going to last. From Grace Hopper, it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to get permission. From William Blake, the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. From Henry James, I think I don't regret a single excess of my responsive youth. I only regret, in my chilled age, certain occasions and possibilities I didn't embrace. Wilhelm Steckel, many an attack of depression is nothing but the expression of regret at having to be virtuous. From Edna St. Vincent Millay, my candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night, but ah, my foes, and oh, my friends, it gives a lovely light. From Colette, you will do foolish things, but do them with enthusiasm. From Arthur Miller, maybe all one can do is hope to end up with the right regrets. From D.H. Lawrence, my great religion is a belief in the blood, the flesh, as being wiser than the intellect. We can go wrong in our minds, but what our blood feels and believes and says is always true. The intellect is only a bit and a bridle. What do I care about knowledge? All I want is to answer to my blood direct, without fribbling intervention of mind or moral or whatnot. Alan Cohen, don't postpone joy until you've learned all your lessons. Joy is your lesson. From Hemingway, about morals, I know only that what is moral is what you feel good after, and what is immoral is what you feel bad after. From Tallulah Bankhead, my father warned me about men and booze, but he never mentioned a word about women and cocaine. From William Blake, you never know what is enough until you know what is more than enough. From John Steinbeck, I have always lived violently, drunk hugely, eaten too much or not at all, slept around the clock or missed 2 days of sleeping, worked too hard and too long in glory or slobbed for a time in utter laziness. I've lifted, pulled, chopped, climbed, made love with joy, and taken my hangovers as a consequence, not as a punishment. From Andrew Marvell, the grave's a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. From Mae West, between two evils, I generally like to pick the one I never tried before. Marcel Proust, there is no man, however wise, who has not at some period of his youth said things, or lived in a way the consciousness of which is so unpleasant to him in later life that he would gladly, if he could, expunge it from his memory. From Jean Anouilh, saintliness is also a temptation. From G.K. Chesterton, the act of defending any of the cardinal virtues has today all the exhilarations of a vice. From Sarah Teasdale, for how can I be sure I shall see again the world on the 1st of May shining after the rain? From Paul Bowles, because we don't know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well, yet everything happens only a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20, and yet it all seems limitless. From Saint Teresa de Lisieux, each small task of everyday life is part of the total harmony of the universe. From Thich Nhat Hanh, there are 2 ways to wash the dishes. The first is to wash the dishes in order to have clean dishes, and the second is to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. From Khalil Gibran, your daily life is your temple and your religion. A Zen Buddhist saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. From the Dalai Lama, remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. From Cormac McCarthy, you never know what worse luck your bad luck has saved you from. From Bruce Lee, don't fear failure. Not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. From Sylvia Plath, I love my rejection slips. They show me I try. From Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. A Chinese proverb, the person who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the person who is doing it. Attributed to Thomas Edison, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. From Catherine Mansfield, when we can begin to take our failures non-seriously, it means we are ceasing to be afraid of them. It is of immense importance to learn to laugh at ourselves. From Joseph Campbell, where you stumble and fall, there you discover the gold. From Alain de Botton, work begins when the fear of doing nothing at all finally trumps the terror of doing it badly. From Samuel Beckett, try again, fail better. A Japanese proverb, fall 7 times, stand up 8. From Andre Gide, one doesn't discover new lands without consenting to lose sight for a very long time of the shore. From Keith Richards, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be anywhere. From Jerry Gillies, you will recognize your own path when you come upon it because you will suddenly have all the energy and imagination you will ever need. Nikos Kazantzakis, I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. From Wallace Stevens, I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling or just after. From Jim Horning, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. From Winston Churchill, personally, I'm always ready to learn, although I do not always like being taught. From Vernon Law, experience is a hard teacher because she gives the test first, the lesson after. From Willa Cather, there are some things you learn best in calm and some in storm. From Anais Nin, you live out the confusions until they become clear. From Auguste Rodin, nothing is a waste of time if you use the experience wisely. From Simone Weil, the future is made of the same stuff as the present.